Good evening, everybody. Let me start with a traditional Israeli greeting, which is please silence your telephones and other electronic equipment. My name is Milet Shamir, and I am the head of the Liberal Arts Program. It's a pleasure to have you all here tonight. It's a very exciting evening for all of us. And I'd like to ask you to please rise and join me in greeting the class of 2015. Welcome, graduating class of 2015. Let me extend also a very warm welcome to your families and your friends who have come here from near and far, some from very far, to celebrate with us tonight. Please allow me also to welcome Professor Yosef Klafter, President of Tel Aviv University, Professor Itamar Rabinovich, our distinguished speaker tonight, Professor Eyal Zisser, Dean of the Faculty of the Humanities, and Ms. Nira Shirman, who is the Associate Dean for Administration. I would also like to acknowledge those of you or those of us who could not be here tonight, but are watching us across the globe by live streaming. So we are being broadcasted all around the world. Dear faculty, dear students, dear guests. Almost 3 years ago, on this beautiful campus, there assembled a special group of students. These students seemed to share little in common. They came from different countries and from different cultural and religious backgrounds. Each brought with him or her a unique life story. But they did share one collective trait. They all possessed what we call here in Israel, in Hebrew, ruach halutziyut, which means a pioneering spirit, or what we sometimes call in today's parlance, the will to break out of the comfort zone. It is this spirit, it is this will that led them away from the familiar path to enroll in a brand new program, Tel Aviv University's first bachelor degree for international students. For many in this group, joining the liberal arts program meant leaving the comfort zone of family, community, and friends, and traveling thousands of miles to a new country, a country with a strange history, with puzzling manners, and a very complicated political situation. I'm sure all of our students remember that a mere month into the program, Operation Pillar of Defense was launched. And if you don't remember, I'm sure your parents remember very well. But for this group of students, joining the liberal arts program meant breaking out of the intellectual comfort zone as well. In choosing this program, they chose to leave behind the safety of traditional academic disciplines and to pursue instead a fluid, multidisciplinary form of education. Our program's vision is to encourage students to boldly cross and recross boundaries of knowledge. This group of students learned how to move with agility and with confidence from history to psychology, from literature to political science, from the ancient world to cyberspace. Dear soon-to-be graduates, the very pioneering spirit that brought you to Tel Aviv University was everywhere evident in your 3 years with us. Where others may see difficulty, you saw challenge. Where others may see obstacles, you saw opportunity. Your teachers and I often remarked on what a hard-working, lively, engaged group you are. Never simply passive consumers of knowledge. You're active learners, and more than this, you're active partners in building our program. You are blessed with critical minds and a desire for betterment, and you not only succeeded in a difficult journey towards the BA degree, but you also paved the way for the many students who followed and will follow in your footpath. Dear students, because ours is a small and selective program, I've had the pleasure of getting to know each one of you individually. And now is my opportunity to tell you how joyful and fulfilling it has been for me to watch each of you expand your horizons, discover yourselves and the world, and blossom intellectually and as human beings. I am a great admirer of each and every one of you. And it's not appropriate for a head of a program to cry, so I'll try not to. Of course, the problem with having gotten to know you so well is that now it's very difficult to say goodbye. But as you close this important chapter in your life, I feel confident that wonderful things lie in store for you. The pioneering spirit of which I spoke, together with the intellectual and moral tools that you have acquired here at Tel Aviv University, are a recipe for a great future. May you continue your exploration of the realm that lies outside the comfort zone and discover that what it holds is not necessarily discomfort, although sometimes there's a little bit of that as well, but opportunity and adventure and the richness of life itself. I wish you all much happiness and success. And it is now my privilege to introduce you to Tel Aviv University President, Professor Yosef Klafter. In Professor Klafter's years in office, he has been working tirelessly to strengthen research excellence, to inspire a sense of community, and to build international connections. Professor Klafter has been an ardent supporter of the liberal arts program from its beginning. He has followed its development closely, lent a helping hand whenever and wherever it was needed, and devoted precious time to getting to know the students personally. Professor Klafter, let me use this opportunity to thank you on behalf of the program for your vision and for your support. Please welcome Professor Klafter.
Thank you very much. So Dean of the Faculty of Humanities, Professor Eyal Zisser, Professor Milet Shamir, the head of the Liberal Arts Program, Professor Itamar Rabinovich, our guest speaker, former ambassador to the US, and also former president of Tel Aviv University. Ms. Nira Shirman, colleagues, graduate of the international program, families, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. We gather here today to honor the achievement of the class of 2015 and to celebrate the culmination of the undergraduate studies of liberal arts here at Tel Aviv University. I know how proud you, the graduates, your families, and your friends are on the hard work and success that you have achieved here. I'm here to tell you that the entire Tel Aviv University community shares your pride. You will soon be joining the ranks of over 160,000 graduates of Israel's largest and most influential institution of higher education. Many of these graduates have gone to become leaders in their fields in Israel and abroad, and our alumni hold top positions in political leadership, public service, and media. Our graduates spearhead scientific and humanistic research in top institutions around the world, again, here in Israel, of course, and abroad. They form 30% of Israel's top CEOs, and Israel, and due to Tel Aviv University, ranks 15 in the world in establishing successful startups like Waze, Oracle, IGO, and other successful startups. Our alumni cultural influence is no less impressive. Over 80% of the films made in Israel were made by Tel Aviv University graduates. Our students are the best, of course, the brightest, and the quality education that you receive here today will transform you from what you got today to the leaders in a society, social conscience leaders of tomorrow. Now, within this distinguished collection of Tel Aviv University, the next student, within the distinguished collection of Tel Aviv University alumni, you, the first graduating class of the International Liberal Art Program, represent a truly unique group. You have come from all over the world, actually, North America, South America, Western Europe, Eastern Europe, Near East, Far East, and brought together the same shared ambition to receive an excellent interdisciplinary education in the vibrant environment that Tel Aviv, the city and the university offer. 3 years later, you have not only developed individually as thinker and human beings, but you have also transformed our campus. Your presence here, of course, brought the world to us here at Tel Aviv University. The Liberal Arts class of 2015 is the first group of international students to earn a bachelor's degree here at Tel Aviv University, as Professor Milet Shamir already mentioned. Your individual achievement is a historical institutional milestone here for us at Tel Aviv University. So one of the main missions of the university in recent years has been to make the university more international by bringing students from abroad and also, of course, visitors from abroad. So your contribution to that mission is indispensable. You have brought the world, as I mentioned, to Tel Aviv University and have thereby made the university a richer, more diverse, and more cosmopolitan place. The degree that you will soon receive represents not only a symbol of individual achievement, but also a sign of our collective growth. You grew and we grew together with you. In the next few months, your unique group will disband and scatter over the globe. Some of you will be returning to their home countries. Some of you will continue their journey to other countries. Some will also stay in Israel to continue their studies here. But wherever you will be, as you reflect back on your academic achievements and look forward for the accomplishment, we trust that Tel Aviv University will continue to hold a special place in your hearts. We hope that we can count on you to be proud as our ambassadors in the world. So thank you very much. Now, a few words to Professor Milet Shamir, who has been so dedicated to the program and actually initiated it. Milet, I remember the series of meetings together with Professor Zisser in my office, trying to see how the program will start and how it will be sustainable. It started as a problem, but yes. So I remember all these discussions, and finally we really decided to take off. You will now move the torch to someone else. So thank you very, very much for really bringing this class to the end of the road, and I wish you all the best in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Klafter. I would like to acknowledge once again the presence of Professor Eyal Zisser, who will soon be concluding 5 years of leadership as Dean of the Lester and Sally and Team Faculty of Humanities. Professor Zisser's accomplishments as Dean are many, and among them is the creation of several international programs on campus, including this one. Some of you may not know this, but the Liberal Arts Program began also in Professor Klafter's office, but even before that, as a twinkle in Professor Zisser's eye. It is thanks to his creative thinking and unending energy that we're all here to celebrate today. Professor Zisser, thank you very much for all that you have done for this program. And I would like now to invite musicians Yoni Garmider and Chen Rubnitsky from the Buchman Mehta School of Music here at Tel Aviv University. And they're going to play for us a poema by Leo Brewer and Lorca. Thank you, Yoni and Chen. They'll be returning later this evening. And now it's a real honor for me to introduce tonight's keynote speaker. Professor Itamar Rabinovich hardly needs an introduction on this campus. A renowned scholar of Middle Eastern studies at Tel Aviv University since 1971, he has held several key positions on campus over the years, including the head of the Dayan Center for Middle Eastern Studies, the dean of the Faculty of the Humanities, and the university's provost. In 1993, Professor Rabinovich was appointed by Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin to serve as Israel's ambassador to Washington, D.C., and subsequently, Professor Rabinovich was also the chief negotiator with Syria. In 1998, Professor Rabinovich was elected Tel Aviv University's 6th president, and he served in this role for 9 years. He is the author of too many books to count and the recipient of too many honors to list here tonight. But I will mention that among his several other occupations at present, he is also the founding president of the Israel Institute, which is a nonpartisan organization that supports scholarship and research and exchange in the growing field of Israel studies. So please give a warm hand to Professor Itamar Rabinovich.
Thank you, Milet. President Klafter, my colleagues on the podium, members of the families, and of course, dear alumni. By now, having spent here 3 years, I know that Israel is a small country and everybody knows everybody. I should mention that I've known Milet since she was very young, because her father, Professor Shimon Shemi, was my teacher, my professor in Middle Eastern studies at the Hebrew University and the professor who recruited me to Tel Aviv University in the late 1960s. You may have wondered what is the relationship between university presidency and being ambassador in Washington. Well, it is related. In 2001, we gave an honorary doctorate to former President Clinton, who came to Tel Aviv, and it was a very moving ceremony and event. And, you know, he has a devastating sense of humor, so he stood up and said, in Washington, I never thought I'd call you Mr. President. In any event, to be a bit more serious. What I'd like to do in a few minutes, because it's called the keynote address, but it's part of a ceremony, and I would be the last person to want to be between you and to stand between you and your diplomas, is to give you a sense of what was happening around us while you were studying here, because these were momentous years. In one sentence, this was a period of unraveling in the Middle East. In the last weeks of 2010 and throughout 2011, the Middle East was defined by what was known at the time as the Arab Spring, a series of popular rebellions starting in Tunisia, moving through Egypt, and affecting parts of the Arabian Peninsula, Libya, Syria, Bahrain in the Gulf, and it sent tremor waves in the region, and it raised hopes that a region known for years for instability, the inability to cope with modernity, was perhaps finally coming to its own, to a period of democracy, equality, progress, all these great words that have been denied to the region and its population for a long time. But this did not materialize, and the Arab Spring turned into an Arab winter, particularly in Syria, our neighbor to the north, where a rebellion against the regime began in March 2011. And it was very impressive at the outset to watch thousands of Syrians in the first phase of the revolution going out to the streets, knowing full well that they might be killed by bullets fired by the regime or being taken prisoners and tortured in the regime's prisons, and developed then into a full-fledged civil war that devastated Syria, and Syria in fact is not a functioning state anymore. Nor is Syria alone. There are 6 members of the Arab League today that are what we call failed states. A failed state is a state where the central government has no control over the national territory. So Syria is one, Iraq, as we all know, is another, Lebanon is a third, Yemen is in that category, Libya is in that category, and Somalia, not exactly an Arab state, but a member of the Arab League, is in the same category. So this is a region where 6 states don't function, where the patterns that one knew for decades of what we call inter-Arab relations, the way relations among the Arab states were governed, these patterns have been disrupted. Where 2 states that had not been part of the region's politics during most of the 20th century have joined it, Turkey and Iran. They are successor states to empires that had ruled the region in past centuries. In the 20th century, they were not part of the region's politics. They became one. Iran after the Islamic Revolution of '79, and Turkey in the first decade of this century. This added into the politics of the region 2 powerful countries, large populace with about 80 million in each of them. And the fact is that today the 3 most powerful states in the Middle East are not Arab: Turkey, Iran, and Israel. 30, 40 years ago, when one spoke in Europe or in the United States about the Middle East, one thought, or one confused sometimes Middle East with Arab world. These were, to some extent, coterminous terms, no longer the case. And I mentioned the 3 most powerful states in the region are actually not Arab, and the Arab world is in the throes of a major crisis. what does it, or what has it meant to us? Some unease. It's not comfortable to know that the land is rocking around you. Some relief, because the disappearance from the scene of the Syrian army and the Iraqi army has actually eliminated for now the danger of a conventional war between Israel and the Arab states. Egypt has a large army, but we have peace with Egypt, and that peace is holding. Jordan has friendly relations with us, and Iraq and Syria no longer have armies. So it's comforting to know that there is no danger of a conventional war, but there are other dangers, sub-conventional, like terrorism, the use of rockets and missiles. You have lived here through the war in Gaza, and fortunately not a single missile fell in the Tel Aviv region, but we've heard the alarm sirens, and we know that in future wars it may happen if they occur. And of course the idea that Iran is developing a nuclear weapon. The danger is not just that Iran will be nuclear or a nuclear threshold state, but that if Iran goes nuclear, or if is close to being nuclear, so will several other states in the Middle East. Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Egypt would not tolerate a situation where Iran would be nuclear and they would not. Fissile material may make its way into terrorist hands, and these terrorists may be active in Europe, in North America, or elsewhere. These are disturbing signs. Disturbing is also the fact that the United States is walking away from this region, what is known as the pivot to Asia and the Pacific, and the absence of a superpower that helps to stabilize and manage the affairs of the region is lamentable as we look at the ongoing war in Syria, at the continuing anarchy in Iraq, at the fact that Iran is not giving up fully its ambition for nuclear weapons, the absence of a powerful, determined United States willing to act as a leader of the free world, the world's only superpower, is clearly painful. Closer to home, we always have to contend with the Palestinian problem. It's with us, whether we like it or not. The West Bank is quiet. Our political relationship with the Palestinian Authority is not good. Palestinian Authority does not want to negotiate. It seeks what we call breakaway statehood. It goes to the United Nations or to the International Criminal Court to fight us. And it certainly is a political diplomatic problem for us. In Gaza, there is a government of the Hamas, does not accept the very existence of Israel, and the danger of organization even more radical and extremist than Hamas, what we call jihadi Islamist organizations, knocking at the door, establishing themselves in Gaza, in the Sinai and other places, cannot be ignored. So what can Israel do in this situation? I fully endorse the idea raised by this young person, and we will convert it into a detailed strategic plan. But while we are doing it, Israel needs to be strong militarily, which it is. It needs to be able to walk the fine line between remaining a mobilized society, where young men and women serve in the army and do reserve service and might be ready to be called at any time, and at the same time being a free, thriving society with a strong economy, with a thriving cultural life. And walking this fine line is not easy. It calls for very effective leadership, and it needs to continue to believe in the availability of a political solution to the problem. Just kicking the can as we go along and hoping that the problem will vanish is not a policy. It's not going to work. And we have to remember that in addition to managing everyday affairs in this country, our leadership needs to think strategically about, if not resolving, then at least moving along towards a resolution or a stabilization of our relationship with the Palestinians. So let me wish you a lot of success in your careers. I hope that you remain connected to this country, and I very much hope that when you come back to visit or do other things here a few years from now, you'll find Israel as interesting as it is today and more peaceful than it is today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Rabinovich. Unfortunately, Professor Rabinovich had to leave to meet another engagement, but we thank him for this sobering yet slightly optimistic account. The Liberal Arts Academic Committee chose Ms. Joy Fua as Class of 2015 valedictorian. Joy was chosen for her outstanding academic achievements, and she was chosen for the respect and the admiration that she has gained from her teachers and from her classmates alike. Born and raised in Singapore, Joy never thought she would end up going to university in Israel, a place where she's never been. But then she had a dream. And I mean that quite literally. She went to sleep at night and had a dream. And she dreamt that she was living and going to school in Israel. The next day, a Google search told her about the liberal arts program, and she decided to apply. From what I understand, her parents were reluctant at first, but when Joy sent her father the official international ranking of Tel Aviv University, he relented. And the rest is history. Joy arrived here and became a star student. I'll just tell you that after graduation, Joy does plan to continue on to graduate school, but not right away. She wants to take some time off to start a company that will involve Israel-Singapore relations. And knowing her talents, I'm sure this company will do very well and be very successful. So please join me in welcoming class valedictorian Joy Fua.
So tall. Stay.
Take it off. Joy, if you want, you can take it off.
Okay. Before I start, I just really want to remember this moment, so. All right. Okay, forget it. Yeah. Good evening, honored guests, President of Tel Aviv University, Professor Yosef Klafter, Dean of Humanities, Professor Eyal Zisser, Associate Dean for Administration, Ms. Nira Sherman, our dear Head of Program, Milad Shamir, parents, some of whom have traveled a great distance to be with us today, teachers, guests, and most importantly, my fellow students and friends, the class of 2015. It's such a great honor for me to speak in front of you today. In 1583, while attending prayers at a cathedral, a 19-year-old student was hypnotized by the regular motion of one of the altar lamps swinging back and forth. No matter how large the arc, the lamp appeared to take the same amount of time to swing back and forth. As the arc decreased in length, the speed of the lamp decreased as well. To confirm his observations, the student measured the lamp swing against the only reliable clock at that time, his own pulse. That teenager was Galileo. 58 years later, when the world urgently sought a solution to solve sea navigation problems and cartography problems, after all the tried methods were deemed too complicated, Galileo came back to that moment in the cathedral, where he first experienced what we now know as equal time. He went on to invent the pendulum clock almost 6 decades later, an invention that was 100 times more accurate than any preceding technology and forever changed our relationship with time. Accurate timekeeping became the imperceptible heartbeat beneath all the technology in the Industrial Revolution, from scheduling the division of labor in factories to keeping steam-powered locomotives running on time. It was the invisible hand of the clock that first moved the market, a move toward unanticipated innovations in other fields. Galileo's story is perhaps one of the best examples of this concept, which we learned in school, the hummingbird effect. The hummingbird effect is the idea that much as the evolution of pollen altered the design of the hummingbird's wings in intelligible ways, innovations also precipitate unanticipated breakthroughs that reverberate far beyond the field or area that a particular innovation seeks to transform. This is what change is. It is small, it is incremental, it is multidimensional, it's complex and complicated, and often unintended. Many of us, between shy laughs and awkward conversations about what we are going to do with our liberal arts degree, worry about our future as liberal arts students. I find striking similarities between our journey and Galileo's. It is a slow churning of creativity, the value of cross-pollinating disciplines, and the importance of perseverance. There is something so poetic about the idea that Galileo's great public invention of split-second time had simmered on a private scale for so many decades. We might be a small pioneer batch of graduates in our liberal arts program, but it was said in the Tanakh when the prophet Zechariah was building the temple that we should not despise the day of small beginnings. As we step out into the real world, let us not underestimate the impact of our education and influence. It took decades before the seed that was planted in Galileo's mind blossomed into anything useful. The idea lay at the intersection point of multiple disciplines and interests, the daydreams of a college student, his studies of motion and the moons of Jupiter, the rise of a global shipping industry and its new demand for clocks that would be accurate to the second. We often think that change has to happen on a big scale to be considered something. But change almost always comes as a surprise because things don't happen in straight lines or instantly. Connections are made by accident. Second-guessing the result of any random incident is difficult because when people or things come together in different and new ways, the rules of arithmetic are changed so that 1 + 1 suddenly becomes 3 to liberal arts students. This is the fundamental mechanism of innovation and change. And when it happens, the result is always more than the sum of its parts. Whatever has happened in our 3 years in university is more than the sum of its parts. Let us not forget that. Every decision and word we speak alters our ecosystem. If we move a grain of sand in the Negev desert by just 1 millimeter, we would have changed the desert. The class of 2017 enjoys some luxuries today without a second thought, without even thinking of them as luxuries in the first place. We help make that happen. Our lives are surrounded and supported by a whole class of objects and are enchanted with the ideas and creativity of thousands of people who came before us. The series of events that paved the way for our program to even exist today. Millet, whose passion and persistence is the reason we are here today. Sarah, Ayelet, Jenna, and Anat, who steadily hack away at the problems that plague all new ventures. Our parents, who either in physical, financial, or emotional ways have allowed us to be here. And we are indebted to all these everyday people every bit as much as, if not more than, we are to the kings and conquerors, Marx and Plato, Jamal al-Din al-Afghani, I still can't pronounce his name, and Benny Morris, giants of traditional academia. When Leah generously opened her couch to a homeless university student, me, far away from home, when Serena texted me after an Iron Dome interception in Tel Aviv last summer to check if I was okay, when Alex volunteered to be student representative of our year, even though he knew most of the changes would not actually affect us, when Ilana introduced me to the wonder of mac and cheese, we have Natalie, Noah, Charlotte, Ruthie, and many others in our class who give back to the community regularly with their time. Kirill and Beata, who express their opinions in class discussions and lectures with such great conviction that it is sometimes hard for me not to be convinced. On my first day of school, almost 3 years ago, I had no friends, and Jordan and Leia invited me to go pick mandarin oranges in the Gilman courtyard during a break. I remember asking if we were allowed to do that, to which Jordan said, "Joy, in Israel, you can do anything until someone tells you that it is not allowed." This remains the most important lesson I've learned in Israel. All of these are seemingly insignificant events and decisions that make us, individually and collectively, who we are today. And this is the wings of the hummingbird. They continue to flap. As a class, we have been through a little more than most universities students around the world can say. 2 wars and the usual sorrows and joys of college life. And I'm so proud to say that from what I've seen, we are not the heaviness that surrounds us. We are not the sound of rockets tearing the sky apart. We are what happens after the war. The surviving, the healing, the rebuilding. We have heart. We are equipped with all we need to change the world. So let us insist on doing small things with great love and integrity, persist in keeping our minds open as our liberal arts degree has taught us, and let the hummingbird continue to flap its wings. Thank you.
Joy, kol hakavod. You know these words already. Beautiful speech. And now, thank God for small things. We can invite Yoni and Chen to come back to the front of the hall and play for us Kshe'or dolek b'chalonech, which translates as something like When Light Shines in Your Window. It's a song by Israeli composer and songwriter Sasha Argov. When I was a college student, the most popular slogan for a while seemed to have been, "It takes a village to raise a child." I think Hillary Clinton wrote a book with that title. Well, I've since learned a few things, and one of the things that I've learned is that it takes a lot more than a village to bring a group of students to graduation. So before we call upon each student to approach the podium, I'd like to take a moment to thank the many people who took part in bringing the class of 2015 to this day. And it's a somewhat long list, so I'll ask you to bear with me. My first thank yous go to Nira Shirman and the Faculty of Humanities administrative staff, which she heads with such efficiency and professionalism and a sense of humor. I'd like to thank, again, Nira, as well as Liora Gabay, Rakefet Ackerman, Leah Abadi, Ruti Moran, Anat Lisak, Tali Katsir, Einat Gueta, Chagit Carmel, Vered Nof, Meital Ganigar, Meital Galili, and also special thanks to Yael Danieli and to Ilana Etgar. I'd also like to thank the excellent team at the Center for Language Excellence and at the School of Languages. Thank you, Rosalie Sitman, Ilana Spector-Cohen, Harriet Rubin, and Lisa Ratz. Also thank you to Roni Ashkenazi from the Hebrew Ulpan. Many heartfelt thank yous go to our friends and close partners of Tel Aviv University's International School. And first and foremost to Maureen Mayer Adiri now, who offered wise guidance and crucial assistance to the liberal arts program really from day one, from before day one even. We are grateful to the entire staff at Tau International, Tal Edelman, Tal Mordoch, Yael Gazit, Tamar Grushka-Stern, Yael Plashevsky, Stav Livne, Dalit Parser, and Jessica Blumenfeld. We want to thank also our friends from the International Engineering Program, Jennifer Gottlieb and Daniel Nissimyan. The awesome team of counselors headed by Jenya Gilgulin are an indispensable part of our students' lives here in Israel and Tel Aviv, and we would like to thank them for their devotion and for their patience and for their good cheer. We would like to thank Ehud Or, and we would like to thank Orly Fromer, the Senate's Supervisory Committee for the program, Professor Chana Wirt-Nesher, Professor Amy Singer, and Professor Jonathan Price. For their hard work on the program's academic and admissions committee, special thanks go to Dr. Yuval Shachar and to Professor Yochai Oppenheimer, and also thank you to Dr. Noah Gedi for assistance in student advising. I told you it takes more than a village, yeah. And I'm not done yet. We would like to acknowledge the work of the academic advisors for the different study tracks in our program. Dr. Miri Shefer-Mosenzon, who heads the Middle Eastern Studies track, Dr. Orit Rosen and Dr. Eli Schonfeld for Modern Jewish and Israel Studies, Dr. Moshe El-Khanati for Digital Culture and Communications, Professor Uri Adar for the Psychology track, Professors Eli Friedlander and Ruth Ronen for Philosophy, together with Dr. Ilit Ferber and Dr. Noah Gedi, and Dr. Sonia Wiener for Literature. Yes. This is also a good time to acknowledge the work of our student representatives, Alexander Eisen, Elizabeth Neumann, and Freya Gottelf. Are doing wonderful work representing the 3 years of our program. And also very many thanks to the Student Graduation Committee, who helped put this evening together and work closely with us and also planned the after party, which I hope everybody plans to attend after the ceremony is over. So thank you, Ruti Berber, Elana Eyal, Leah Cohen, Camille Maurice, Noah Radosh, and Gil Melili. Thank you very much. There's an important group of people without whom the liberal arts program is an empty title. Their wisdom, passion, patience, and talent are the 4 pillars on which this program stands. And I'm referring, of course, to your teachers. Not all teachers are here, but we have representatives of our teachers, or of our faculty. And could I ask the teachers who are here in the audience to stand up for a minute so we can give you a hand? Don't be shy. last but certainly not least, I want to give special thanks to the liberal arts program's past and present administrative staff. Since the program opened, we have been really blessed with amazing people who worked in our office. Our previous program directors, Brian Bolton, who may be watching us on live streaming right now, and Anat Lotan, who is here with us, I'm glad to say. Their hard work really built this program, together with Abigail Eisenbach and Orly Lael, who helped very much in the program's initial stage. And now, the smart, extremely dedicated, and simply delightful team of Ayelet Shacham, our program director, of Sarah Bolag, our Students Affairs Coordinator, and Jenna Mucironi, our Admissions Coordinator. They deserve a huge hand, so please give it to them. And I would now like to invite Ayelet to present the students.
Are we ready? Abraham Leah. Admoni Ophir. Babel Tamir. Baruthi. Carmack Walker. Carl Sliman Serena. Cohen Lealiora. Cohen Lior. Eisen Alex. Ilana Ayal. Galloway Zoe. Gazette Melody. Halpern Shira. Harkavi Charlotte. Levi Nicole. Lubitsch Melina. Mandel Dalia. Markowicz Amy. Maurice Camille. Mendelssohn Noam. Fua Joy. Radosh Noah. Rosenhard Helene. Shane Emily. Sokolik Jordan. Soma Natasha. Sonino Chiara. Simon Adam. And a big happy birthday to Adam, who's celebrating his birthday today. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Adam. Happy birthday to you. Talia calls Olivia. No, one more. Vendus Rebecca. Yamano Julie. Yummy, Natalie. And Zakwin Ayala. Dear students, on behalf of the entire team, excuse me, anyone still recovering from joy speech? I would like to say that it has been a pleasure and a privilege to accompany all of you on your way to your new life. We wish you all the best for the future and hope that the coming years will see you fulfill as many of your hopes and dreams as possible. Do keep in touch with us via Alumni Association and let us know how life pans out for you. Now please stand up and flip the tassel to the left to indicate that you have completed the program. Congratulations. Mazal tov. Photographer, Salam. Do it.